it's like sports. You know, that's all there is to it. And for those who don't, it's going to be the same. You know, you're going to find all the reasons as to, well, that's not real, and give you good reasons why. Now, as a rule, I believe nothing that I see on TV, but I have had a couple experiences. And one of them was, let me come over here. Let me make sure it's recording. Is it recording? It is. Okay. So one of them was when I was just a boy. I don't know, 15, somewhere around that area. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd be lying to you if I told you. But I was still living at home, and I was young. I was in my teens, but I don't remember. I mean, I started driving at 11. So, you know, I can't tell you, well, when I started driving, because some people are going to say, well, you must have been 17 or 18. That wasn't it. Anyhow, I'm living at home with Mom and Dad. It's an old house. It was a two-family, I think. You walk in the front door, you're in like a little foyer area. You can hang your coats up, a little coat area. Then you had these big wooden pillars with this big opening, and that would walk into the living room. And then you had another big opening with these big wooden pillars, and that would walk into the dining room, you know, and then the kitchen and so on and so forth. So you got an idea on how the house worked. Oh, wait a minute. I can't give you an age because I was out with Vinny. Vinny and I was out hunting. So I must have been about 17, 16. No, I was older than that because Vinny's 2 years younger than I. So I must have been 17, 18. Well, no. See, here's the story because I don't remember myself because I started dating my first wife when I was 18. I'm going to say 16 just as a number. Vinny and I were out. Vinny was living with us for a while. So we come home, and it's about 2 o'clock in the morning. Mom's up. Naturally, she's not going to go to sleep until we're home. And she says, "Oh, how was your night? Everything? No trouble?" Yeah. You guys want anything to eat? Well, naturally, we're starving at this point. So, yeah. She said, "What do you want?" Make us some eggs on toast. All right, so we're in the kitchen. Vinny and I are sitting at the table, this way and this way. Over here is the stove. So the stove is over here, the table is here, Vinny and myself. Mom's cooking, doing her thing. Now, on the side of the stove, up on the wall, you know, about 1.5 feet above the stove, but on either side of it, there were like 2 ceramic vases that were flat on one side so that you could attach it to the wall. And she had plastic flowers stuck in them. Well, after she was done cooking, she turned around, she threw the eggs in the dish, she gets our toast, she puts it down. Now she's over at the sink, and she's washing the dishes in the pans, and Vinny and I are eating. The flowers that were in that vase on the wall lifted out of the vases, both of them, flew across us in front of us over the table, and it landed on the floor. Vinny and I look at one another like, okay, you know, we're not drinking. We're not doing anything. Right? Mom, she's all done. She picks up the little hand towel and she's doing her drying her hands off, and she turns around and she picks them up. She goes, "Are you guys at it again?" Not us. She's talking to somebody. Don't ask me who. There's nobody there but us. She believed in this stuff. So at this point, we're thinking, hello, are we believing or what? I mean, come on. We've seen it happen. So anyway, she picks them up, she puts them back, and she gave him a few choice words. Basically, be good. And that was it. So not long after, Vinny's in the back room, in the bedroom. I'm on the chair, living room. TV on like a wooden TV stand with drawers and things. Couch, table, an end table with a lamp and a chair. A couch again, table, a recliner, TV. Mom is sitting on this side of the couch. Dad is sitting in the recliner, which is on the other side, down the corner of the room. I am on the other side of the light in this chair. Mom sewed while she was watching TV. And when she was gathering material or moving it or pleating it or whatever it is she was doing, she would take the needle and stick it in the arm of the couch. It was a material, it wasn't a wooden arm. She'd stick it in the arm of the couch. Sticks it in the arm of the couch. She goes to get it back, it's not there. Where the hell is it? She's looking. She can't find it. She's on the floor. She's under the couch. She's taking the cushions up. She doesn't want anybody to get, she doesn't care where it went, as long as it's not where somebody's going to get hurt. And she's looking and looking and looking. And my dad said, "What are you looking for now, Jess?" "Can't find the needle." No, now he's up looking. I'm looking. We can't find this thing. After about 10, 15, 20 minutes, Dad decides to walk over and change the channel on the TV. Because back then, click, 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 click. You guys remember those? And when he goes over to change the channel, he notices the needle is stuck in the wood in the TV stand. Now, it was stuck in hard enough and deep enough because he couldn't get a grip on it to pull it out with his fingers. Because it was just too small, You pull the thread and the thread would break. He didn't want to wobble it and make a big hole because it's stuck in the TV stand. So he goes and gets a pair of pliers and he pops it out. So, I mean, it wasn't in there to where he had to, but it was in there that he couldn't do this. Gives it to her. Here it is. How the hell did it get over there? No, none of us got up, and none of us are going to be able to put it in that hard to where you can't get it out, And at that point, Dad sits down, I sit down, Mom sits down, and she turns around and she's looking at me. She says, "They're at it again." So at that point, that's where we ended up. So there's two experiences I've seen within 2 or 3 weeks of one another, right in front of me in my own house. Now, Corky Green. His last name used to be Griskowitz, but he changed it to Green. Corky was his first name. He actually was the founder and owner, if that's what you want to call it, of a band that was in Milford back then called the Band of Gold. We're going back now. Corky was a fireman in Milford. Back then, Milford, a lot of Milford is on the shoreline, with cottages that are built on stilts over the water. Stone. No swimming under there, but there's all stone and stuff like that. Well, we had a hurricane, and the flooding was coming, and the fire department had to get out there to start evacuating these people. And he's out there, and he gets washed underneath one of these houses. And the next thing he knows, he's being pulled out by a couple of his brothers. And he's telling them, "You're hurting my feet. Hello, hello, you're hurting my feet." And at that point, they throw him in the ambulance, and he hears one of them say, "He's dead." And the next thing you know, he's not seeing anything at this point. Next thing you know, he hears the sheet go over him, and they covered him. You know, they just head to toe. He's covered. And he's talking to the person, in his way, he's thinking he's talking, to the person that's sitting in the ambulance. He says, "I heard somebody there turning papers." Like they were either reading a paper, filling out reports, whatever it was, he felt and heard that action going on. He says, and he had to throw up. So he kept yelling, "I got to throw up. I got to throw up." They're not hearing it. He sits up, he heaves. The guy that was in the chair next to the bed in the gurney inside the ambulance jumps up, runs out saying, "He's alive, he's alive, he's alive." So at that point, he had died. You know, he was dead for enough time for you to say he was dead. But he still had memory going, you know, because the mind continues to go for a minute or two until the blood stops and the oxygen's gone and then the mind dies. But meanwhile, because of that, they think that that's why he has all these other experiences afterwards, because he started having some weird experiences. Now, Dee, which ended up eventually being his wife, she had a invisible friend when she was a kid, and this invisible friend never left her. You know, and now she's an adult married, you know, 26, 27 years old, and Corky is the husband. They buy a raised ranch up in Shelton, and said, "Come on up, hang out, play pool." So Darlene and I went up there, and we're in the family room downstairs of the raised ranch. And this was a big family room. This was a big ranch. Corky had a little bit of capital behind him due to a problem that was a medical issue with his mother, who had passed away. So at that point, he has another room right next to the garage, and he has a pool table. So Corky, Matt, which is Corky's 15-year-old son, and myself are going in to play pool. 8-ball. I'm down to the 8-ball. The 8-ball is sitting about 6 inches from the corner pocket, right in front of it. I am in the opposite corner, diagonally across, so there's a lot of green between us. I'm a little off the pocket, and I'm about 12 inches in. I line up on that ball. I give it a nice little pop. I don't have to jam it. I don't want to jam it into the pocket. I just want to put it in there. As my ball started going up to the 8-ball, the 8-ball didn't roll. It slid over about 4 inches. My ball, the cue ball, goes into the pocket. We all look at one another. All right. Now, Corky kind of expects this, but we all look at one another like this. Here, I'm done. I put the stick down. I went in the other room, in the family room, with Darlene and Dee. They came in, and we're all sitting in there. "What's going on?" Well, we just told them what's going on. Yeah. And Dee says, "Oh, okay. You know, you should spend the night some night." "Uh-huh, yeah, all right." She says, "No, we have something running across our roof in the middle of the night. You hear it running." Well, there's no trees over the roof. There's no trees anywhere around them. They're living in basically a new development, so there's really nothing growing. There's nothing around. There's nothing. The roof is 30 feet off the ground, for crying out loud. You're not going to get on it unless you're either, you know, a bird, a bat, a vampire, or you have a ladder, one or the other. But apparently there was something that used to run across the roof that was heavy enough to where they heard it running. And she says, I think it's my friend. D, you talking about your childhood friend? Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so much for that. So Darlene and I left. It was around November of that year. Corky comes in my store, and he's telling me, you should have been with me last night. You know what? He goes, well, Dee and I went to her cousin's, I think it was her cousin's, for Johnny or Joey's birthday, meaning the cousin's husband. And, there was 25, maybe 30 people there. So between the kitchen and the dining room and the living room, you kind of had to, you couldn't just walk through. You kind of had to excuse me type of thing. It wasn't to where you're bumping into somebody every time you turn around. There's a couple places to sit. It was a crowded night. He says, next thing you know, he sees a guy come walking in the front door that was dressed like Abraham Lincoln. The beard, everything. He walks in, he looks at Corky, he nods to Corky. Corky nods back. Corky was a friendly guy. Nods back, and this guy walks on into the kitchen. He says to Dee, is this a costume party? She goes, no, why? Did you see that guy walk in here? He was dressed like Abraham Lincoln. And she says, you seen him? Oh, yeah, you didn't see him? She says, my sister or cousin, I don't remember, talks about him all the time. Oh, what about him? He's dead. He's dead. So they walk in the kitchen. He's not there. There's a back door there, but you can tell the door hasn't been opened or closed. Plus, there's people in the kitchen. Nobody else in the kitchen seen him. Corky asked. Well, come to find out, back in the 1800s, like 1890s, stuff like that, this guy used to live in his house. He was coming home from work. It was November, which means it was getting dark earlier. He got hit by a car or whatever, and he died. So every birthday, that it's his birthday, and if they hold a birthday party that night, apparently he shows up. And Dee's sister or cousin is the only one that really sees him, And at this point, Corky's seen him. And he was telling me about it. Then he was telling me the same night, he's looking on the couch, and he swears he's seen somebody sit down at the end of the couch. Now there's somebody else sitting over on the other end that he sees. He said, but for some reason, he says, I just had a feeling somebody was sitting at the other end of the couch. The cushion had a little sink in it. He says, it could have been worn, He says, and another guy comes in. Oh, it was the husband to the wife that was sitting there, who was also related and lived in the house with the sister or the cousin. So they also lived there. And the husband comes in, talks to his wife for a minute, goes to sit down in that spot. He turns around, goes, and he gets up, and he moves over to the center of the cushion and sits down. Corky says, what the hell is that all about? Oh, well, he's seen somebody sitting there. What do you mean he's seen somebody sitting there? Yeah. He said, you know what? He says, for some reason, I had a feeling somebody was sitting there. And she says, since you, well, I didn't know you much beforehand other than, of you. But once you had that experience where you passed away, it seems that you're seeing him more and more, and they went to a psychiatrist, they went to doctors, and that was the only conclusion. So they moved, finally, they moved to the Midwest, Arizona, and he and she both died. Natural causes, old age. Matt is still around, but I'm trying to find him. Matt, I don't know if he's going by Green or Griskowitz. I tried looking for him on Facebook. I haven't found him there yet. because I'm just wondering how he's doing, you know, and what Corky actually died of. It was old age, but you know, was it a heart attack? Was it cancer? Was it, you know, a turd came out the wrong way? I mean, you never know, you know. So I'm still trying to get a hold of Matt to find out and talk to him. Where's he at? What's he doing? You know, because I've known him since he was a kid, basically. Uh, so anyway, I finally got that out. Hopefully it's still recording, and I'm going to go in the house.